we have a verbal roll call? Member Hill? Here. Member Albiano? Present. Member Block absent. Member Thomas? President Jones?
Okay, is there a new agenda item for 1.2? Just a new agenda item. No, that should have been. All right, 1.3, meeting practices and information. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that the board appreciates the support of stakeholders' input at our meetings. However, it is important to note that the board meeting is not a meeting of the public, but a meeting to conduct the district's business in public. Everyone should have a chance to express their opinions respectfully within the guidelines the board has established for its meetings, so that the board is able to conduct the meeting effectively and efficiently. During the meeting, there will be time for public comment on both agenda and non-agenda items. Members of the public may observe the meeting via NUSD YouTube channel or in person at Newark District Office tonight. As a reminder, on the dais and in the room, we will keep our focus on the best interest of our students. We will work toward the future, learning from the past. We will stay focused on our goals and avoid getting sidetracked. We will build upon the idea of others and look for common ground. We will paraphrase for understanding. When we have a difference of opinion, we will debate the facts of the situation and avoid personal criticism. We will address processes, not persons. We will respect differences, and we will never dismiss or devalue others. Pledge of Allegiance, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item from the agenda?
I can't walk in.
Okay, doesn't look like anyone needs to pull anything. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Member Hill, for approving. A second, please.
Second.
All right, second, Member Aguiado, thank you. And
We need to take a vote, but let's just
do a verbal roll call maybe, because unless, are you set up to do? Then we do a verbal roll call, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Member Hill?
Yes.
Member Albiano?
Yes.
Member Block absent. Member Thomas?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes. All right, that is 5 ayes, or 4 ayes. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to new business, interim CBO. Do we have any update on that?
This item is coming to the Board of Education this evening. Staff seeks your support to allow us to hire an interim CBO to support the USC School District and our Business Services Department while we continue to recruit and look for a permanent replacement. This could either be a substitute or a contractor. We don't, at this point, we don't have a contract, but we would be seeking somebody professionally who would be able to support us.
Member Hill.
Thank you, Superintendent Ficon. And as I think we talked about in the last meeting, as many people know, we've been in the process of looking for a permanent CBO, and we haven't been able to find the right person yet. And so this is really an effort to put somebody in place to sort of keep things afloat while we continue to search. And I think we've talked about, our kind of smaller search group committee, that we want to do a really robust search. And that by having somebody play this role on a temporary basis, it will give us some time to really do a really bottoms-up, very thorough search. But I think that the thing that we need to hold ourselves accountable to is that the intent is to ultimately find a permanent, CBO that can be with us for some period of time.
Yeah, and just for awareness, I think with the community and with our board, which I know is aware through conversation, we did hold and conduct interviews 2 weeks ago. We did make an offer to someone. That offer was declined. And we really felt that it was better to go back out and make sure that we have the right person that can really help us navigate what we need to be able to do.
Comment? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's really important that as we go out to look for the interim superintendent, because of all the issues that we are facing now with closing the books and the unaudited actuals coming up, our deficit spending, that we really need to find someone that is really competent, educated, and has a deep understanding of finance. And so my thought is that whoever we seek to be the interim should have at least an MBA degree and should have experience, financial experience, a deep understanding of finances, because we definitely have had issues in the recent past with our budgeting, with getting our auditing, getting our audits and information to our auditor on time. And so I really would stress that, unlike in the past, some of the people we brought in do not have that deep financial background, that I would ask the superintendent to search out firms or individuals that do have that, an MBA or in finance or a deep understanding of finance.
Thank you.
Okay. Member Alvarado, do you have any comments? Okay. All right, so we are looking for a vote on this to
Sorry.
approve.
So I make a motion?
Yeah,
To
I was, okay.
make a motion to approve item 3.1, interim CBO support.
Second?
Wait a second.
Thank you. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Aliano?
Yes.
Member Block absent? Member Thomas?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes,
4 ayes.
4 ayes. Thank you very much. All right, as we move to 3.2, MGT Impact Solution Agreement. Ms. McCarr?
Thank you. Just want to make sure none of the public comments have anything to do with this.
They say non-agenda.
Okay. Let me see if I can. So MGT before you this evening is the MGT Impact Solutions Agreement. This is the amount of $26,100. This is to help support the entire district with making sure that we are able to open up our POs so that we can get things ordered for our school. School is 2 weeks away. We have significantly been without the staffing that we need to be able to do this. We have brought in a little bit of substitute staffing to be able to help us with cutting our checks, but we definitely need help with the purchasing side to make sure that we are ready to go with this. And so additionally, we believe that this position will be able to help the new person who starts in a few weeks with being able to have a good smooth transition. We've looked at the number of hours that we believe that we need per week based on the work that's been done up until now, and then also looking at maybe some consulting hours to be able to help and support that new position and kind of carry that through December. on average, you'll be looking at about 20 hours per week between now and the middle part of September. And then after that, it would go down to about 10 hours a month on average is what we'd be looking at for additional consulting time, just to be able to help that person transition well.
All right, any questions? Member Hill?
Thank you, Superintendent. And I think that we understand that we're going through a transition, and we are bringing in a procurement manager, and it sounds like a very experienced person.
Very much.
But they're not going to be starting for a couple of weeks, and even then when they come on board, there needs to be some knowledge transfer. And so the intent of this contract is to really provide that support and the ability, so the short-term support and then the initial knowledge transfer.
Correct, and also when that person comes, they also have to get onboarded with the escape system. There's some things that will have to be done. There's a little bit of training that goes with that from systems that they may have used in their prior district versus the system they're coming to in this county.
And then what I would also just suggest is this procurement role the procurement management role is a new role. And I was kind of one of the people that had been pushing for it because from when I was on the board prior, we didn't really have that role. And so we want to increase professionalism around how we do procurement. But the one thing though that I hope that we take advantage of is that although it wasn't pretty, there were people within the district that were executing and doing procurement functions, right? They weren't procurement manager, but they were buying stuff. And so I think we just want to kind of let them know also that, like, they're not off the hook, you know, in terms of helping to support as we transition in this new person. And then from an NGT perspective, I think that the key thing is that they need to do whatever knowledge transfer the procurement manager says, but at a point where they feel like they're in the saddle and they're ready, you know, I would say that that's the time to, you know, to basically move to the next stage. And so I'm understanding that this is a not to exceed amount.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, may I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve.
And a second?
A second.
Thank you. And a vote, Ms. Lemus?
Member Hill?
Yes.
Member Ardiano?
Yes.
Member Block absent? Member Thomas?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes. Okay, 4 ayes, thank you. All right, as we move to staff report on the after-school program Think Together. Superintendent McCarr?
Thank you. We are bringing this item to you as an urgent item that we felt that was really important for us to be able to share with all of you and with our community. This is very late developing news to us and very concerning. We know that it's going to have a significant impact on our families and the program that we originally designed because there is significantly less funding that is going to be available for the program. So I'm going to ask Karen Allard to share with you a little bit about the information that we know right now and also some of the solutions that we are looking at to be able to help and support our families.
Good evening. We know the importance of sharing information when we have an unexpected surprise, which is why we're bringing this report to you this evening for discussion and recommendation. I think I'm on. Am I on? Yeah, okay, thank you. In the spring communication from the governor's budget indicated that the 25-26 Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, or ELOP, funding would increase. However, being proactive, we looked at our own budget and we planned for a reduction based on our 3-year rolling ADA, and we went ahead and reflected this in our own ELOP budget internally. Last Friday, July 18th, districts received communication from CDE how ELOP funding would be allocated for 25-26. We learned that there was a new allocation amount adjusted from $1,575 to $1,280 per student. Then, on Monday, July 21st, ELOP allocations were published on the CDE website, and to our surprise, our new allocation for this school year was $1 million less than last. Tracy, did you want to add some additional finance part to that?
And we spent some time in reviewing what actually happened. The governor had made good on his promise, quite frankly, that ELOP would have more money, but that money went just strictly to the tier 1 schools. And what he did is he actually used the tier 2 funds to help adjust it. So it wasn't necessarily new money that's coming in, it's actually just an allocation of the funds that were designed for ELOP, and then which tier allocation got what kind of funding that went with it. So the districts who are in tier 1 and who have received a higher allocation, these districts have an unduplicated pupil count of 55% or higher. NUSD has been remained in tier 2. Our current UPP is 52.80%, so we just missed it. We've missed it every year for many years. We've never been at that 55% level. Staff has been in contact with ACOE and with CTE for some guidance. ACOE was also surprised about the $1 million reduction, as our 24-25 UPP percentage was only approximately 0.5% different in 23-24. So you wouldn't think 0.5% would make $1 million difference, but it did. And it's not just that, it's actually the additional allocation of funds that they've actually gone. I'll explain that here in just a moment. They also shared that we were one of the few remaining Alameda County districts that have not added a before and after school fee-based model. So most districts have already shifted towards that. So Karen, can you talk to us a little bit about how this will impact our after-school program?
Yeah, so we currently have 227 students who qualify to go into our ELOP after-school, before and after-school program this school year. And we have 277 non-unduplicated count students registered or interested, which is over 100 more than we anticipated. We're in communications with Think Together, our vendor for before and after school programs, as our 25-26 contract that was approved by the board in the spring has to be reduced because that contract is higher than the allocations that we received from the state. We also are in communications with them about what a fee-based model would look like. How much would it be per family, per month? And we're waiting for that information anxiously. We brought the idea to the board back in spring when I did our RFP presentation, sharing that we might need to go to a fee-based model. We're just thinking now with our new allocation, it's going to have to be sooner than later. So by the end of the week, we would like to get communications out to our families, even though we only received this 2 days ago, about a new fee-based model because of the $1 million reduction. And we realize this timing is really bad with 2 weeks before school started, but this is information that we have sat on based on, it's just been almost 48 hours since we received this information. So our recommendation is to quickly pivot and to create a fee-based model for students who do not qualify, which many families in our district have already been asking for at several of our sites. We just didn't have space to accommodate. So opening it up for input and conversation.
So two questions. So the first question is, so the ELOP, the new determination, was that based on our budget assumptions, or is that just purely a formulaic, like, here's the funding per pupil, and it doesn't matter what we forecast? So that's question one. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense. Let me see if I can paraphrase what you just said, make sure I try to answer the question the right way, or maybe add to your question with some additional information. So what I think I heard you ask is, the formula that's used, is that something that we would have known what that formula was when we were developing the budget?
And provide input, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, did we give them input and they said, okay, here's the input and now here's the output? Okay, so essentially they just said, this is the new allocation.
After our budget was already done. So in the budget assumptions that we've received and heard in all of our meetings, whether it was in the ed services side or the fiscal services side, what we heard is that there was going to be an increase to ELOP funding. Right, we have heard that. what we didn't understand, it wasn't new money,
Yeah,
it's money within the same program, just the different tiers are gonna be shifted.
changing the slices of the pie.
And none of us have heard that, that's not a piece that we've necessarily heard.
Yeah.
Could have been communicated out there, I suppose it's possible, but from, like, Karen's
I've looked
group,
at all my slide decks, I've been in my emails early in the morning, did I miss something, was something not said? There's no indication
yeah.
from me or from OFI, our expanded learning program coordinator, that this would have been shared with us.
And in budget planning, what we've done is when we look at our 3-year rolling average, we reduce any grant funds that would be coming in, that would be modeled after that 3-year, knowing that we have a difference, we go back in and do that. We even add a small little fudge factor because as you may recall, a couple of years ago, we were actually fined because we had a problem within our, the way how we were doing our CalPADS reporting in the 3-year cycle. So I've always added just a little bit of extra in there, not a lot, but it's something to kind of help us get us over the little edge in case we don't know if that's gonna come back and still bite us. And it has bit us in the past. I mean, there hasn't been a year that we haven't been bit just a little bit because of our CalPADS reporting, and we know that we've got some issues still with that. We've got to close that gap. So I don't know if that exactly answered your question, but I hope it did.
So that was question 1, and then question 2 is, so my sense is, right, so a budget is a forecast. And even if we had known this, I don't know how much we would be able to react, cut in other areas. Essentially, we would just be projecting bigger increases in expenditure. And so I don't know how much it would have influenced our budgeting process, maybe a little bit. But my question is obviously this is going to be a big surprise to the families, and it potentially could create, some real, hardship, angst, et cetera, and an inability to plan for it, react. And so what I'm wondering from a board perspective is whether we could maybe approve that maybe we say that we won't charge a fee for this first semester, so that we give families time to plan, but we set the expectation that in the second semester that there's going to be a fee coming through, and then in the interim, we could then look at, are there other budget categories where we could cut some money to fund this unanticipated expense? So that's just a question for you, superintendent, and the board.
You would be looking at nearly $500,000 that we would have to come up to be able to fund the first semester. I think what concern, there's another piece to this, like when we did our ELOP planning for our budget, and I don't know why it's set up this way, and I have to go back and look at the history of the model that we use for our funding, but when we fund our summer program for ELOP, we've only spent a huge chunk of money this past summer that's actually paid for out of the 25-26 funds, right? So you've got about $600,000 that gets charged there, maybe a little bit over. So we've already got money that's come down off the grant already, and looking at what's left and what we have to be able to spend to be able to go over, it's a significant amount of money that's really gonna dip pretty deep into our pockets. I could see maybe going a month or 2, but I don't know if you can go, I gotta tell you something, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
And-
Well, and one other question, I'm just throwing out options, in terms of how to be creative about this.
I appreciate that.
But could we also, consider a scenario where, so effectively a lot of people are using this as a form of childcare, right? And so I guess the question is if we're going to now be neutral in terms of our costs, so we're going to charge an amount of money that will cover this $1 million delta or whatever, what would that work out to on a per family basis or per, I don't know however you calculate it, per child or whatever it is, per month? What would that work out to? How does that compare with what, if they were going to go to some other outside childcare provider, what would be the monthly charge that they would incur? Because that's literally the comparison that they're going
That's
to
a
be doing.
comparison, of course it is.
Right.
No, I get that, and I think that's a really good question. So when I look at our original grant that we were going to pay for in our contract with Think Together for 400 students, and I look at the amount of money that we were going to pay to Think Together, that comes out to being approximately $262 a month
Per kid.
per kid.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what Think Together charges for an unduplicated student, if they have a higher fee that they charge for that, I don't know that answer. Something we would have to find out. But for our unduplicated child, we would be paying approximately that each month for the 10 months, in addition to the snack costs that we also pay. So that doesn't include the snack cost in here as well. So we'd have to figure that particular piece out.
So that's for every day for a month, I mean, every school day for a month,
Yes.
262.
Approximately.
And do we have a sense of how much they would pay to somebody, just a regular childcare provider? Do we know?
My neighbor is a childcare provider, and I think her after-school care, and she picks up from school, is $180 a week.
Oh, wow.
So significantly more to have in-home care like that. So, I mean, that's per week, so that's not per month. Multiply that by 4, basically.
Okay,
And you
so then it's still
This is still
potentially legal.
significantly cheaper.
Right,
And I don't know where she falls on the scale in Newark of high to low, in comparison to other daycare centers, but she does do the pickup thing, and that's her charge.
Yes, people.
Yes.
It seems to me that ELOP money is targeted at our unduplicated students. It's money because the learning loss over the pandemic impacted our unduplicated students, and that's why the money is targeted here. So it seems to me that we have been subsidizing students that are non-unduplicated, and that it's been fortunate for those parents, but we can't keep that up. And the question I have is, given the allocation we have, and given that we have 227 unduplicated students, how many of those unduplicated students use our after-school program, or have in the past percentage-wise? And of those, the current budget that we have, how much will it cover the expenses that we have to pay to Think Together?
Yeah, right now with the allocation that we still have remaining, from, after the summer expenses and after our staff expenses to get taken out of the grant, like for OP and her staff that she has, and also does some oversight. We have about $565,234 left for this program year to be able to spend. I can tell you the cost for the 227 students that are already registered is going to run us $595,875.
Are those unduplicated students? For the 227 that are currently
Enrolled for 25-26.
those are all unduplicated. And so the 565,000 is less than the 595,000 just to meet our targeted group that has already signed up.
Correct. And by the way, we cannot turn down any UPP student. We must cover them because we've accepted this grant.
So did we miss in our contract with Think Together to make it larger than what the ELOP money is that we're going to be getting?
So originally, we contracted with Think, let me just go backwards for a second. So
Can I just interrupt for a minute?
Yes.
Duke is having a difficult time picking up our mics, so we need to speak.
really clearly into,
Yeah, I just
realizing how close I could get. We need to get very close to make sure that our voices are being picked up, because not everybody is being picked up, and it's hard for them to hear. part of the recording to pick us up. So,
All right, let me see if I can.
love her back.
All right, with that said,
Put on.
Uh-huh. That should be on. No,
Up is on.
up is on.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, we originally planned for 400 students that would be on the UPP. And our grant allocation would have originally covered that we had planned for based on what we thought our grant was going to be. Now that it's $1 million less, we've had to go back and go adjust it. We really only probably would have, just looking at this here as a guesstimate, and I didn't do the actual math, but since it's 227, we're already over by over $40,000. You must be looking at probably closer to about 200 students that would actually qualify under the grant. So,
Not 227.
227 doesn't cover the entire amount. That's how many people have registered, but we only have 565,234 remaining on the grant that we have. And we have more than 595,875 in services based on the 227 that have already enrolled. That number is going to continue to increase for any other UPP student that needs to come on here, been on our roster for last year. We still have to provide the services to them. So we are going to be in the hole very quickly, no matter what.
Okay, so you're saying that we have 227 that signed up. That's not how many
That are
UPP students.
That are you.
That are UPP qualified
Right, I
already.
know, but I was under the assumption, the wrong assumption that was the number of UPP students that were eligible. But it's,
No, we've got like over 4,000 there. I'm sorry, I don't have that number in front of me, but we've got about 2,700 students, I think, that are eligible for UPP district-wide. The after-school program only though covers TK through 6th grade, so we don't cover. The ACES program picks up the other portion.
So how many people have signed up total? And then how many of that, the subset, are UPP? And how many of the remaining are non-UPP? So what's the total amount that signed up, and then what's the breakdown?
It's
For 25, 26?
You said.
Yes.
So 227 who qualify have signed up or registered.
UPP.
Yes,
And what
We
about non-UPP?
277.
for a total of 504.
I think that offering free childcare to non-UPP students is not correct. I think that that's using funds that should be going to our general fund. So I think that this program needs to be self-sufficient. What we get is what we spend. I'm curious about the overhead. Do we have more overhead than other districts? What are we talking about in terms of salaries for people that are managing this program?
We have one supervisor, and we have one secretary for the program that not only oversees this program, but also sees the morning program that is fee-based. And then we have a couple of other assistants, I'm not 100% sure I know their
Classified staff.
classified staff that actually help and support with the after-school program.
TK, because they're released earlier. So a couple hours a day for just for our TK students.
We have a transition time period in there before the
Are
50
are
others.
we required to cover that transition period of time for our TK students? Probably not.
We are,
We
If
are.
they're
We are.
unduplicated,
We are.
we are.
So our unduplicated students have to have the ELOC program right after from the time they're dismissed until their parents pick them up.
Yes, it has to be offered to them. What ELOP is it creates a 9-hour school day for them. So since TGA is only 4 hours, then it extends from 12 to 3 with NUSD classified staff. And then at the end of the school day and for TK, then it's 2:32, 2:47, 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock.
So the overhead's quite substantial because we are covering with our staff, the TK students, until Think Together
Takes
comes.
over.
So our overhead is probably pretty substantial.
But it's all,
Less than-
it's all under the ELOP grant.
Right, but I mean, the amount of students we can serve, because we have to have this extra cost for our TK students, means, we're already underwater.
So this sign up, so when you sign up, is it for the entire school year?
I'd like to invite Opie, who oversees the program, do you mind coming up to the mic, so it'll just be.
So these families that have signed up, so they got some form or something and they filled it out, and then what's the agreement what's the contractual agreement?
Under ELOP,
No, so,
if they were
So what
a
I'm
fee-based program,
no.
No.
So what I'm saying is that we've said, hey, you can come and join Think Together, but you gotta sign up. So my question is they fill out some form, and in that form, does that say, hey, if you sign this form, you get to go to Think Together for, a month, a year, whatever, or it doesn't say anything, it just says, hey, congratulations, you're in the program
it's for the school year.
for the school year?
Yes.
Okay. So, and is the sign up a rolling sign up, or is there like a deadline which says you must sign up by X date?
It's not like that, it's for the amount of openings that we have. They're full, and then even after that, some people are waitlisted, and then, there may be ones that come and roll in throughout the school year, and if they are unduplicated, then we do have to accept them. And then if they're not, then they do get waitlisted.
Okay, and so when we put together our budget assumption, were we assuming that it was roughly gonna be about 500 kids?
400.
Okay, so it's a little bit more than that. And then we were assuming that our ELOP would cover the entire program, both duplicated and unduplicated.
Yes, and that was with a reduction to the rolling 3-year average
Okay,
that we use as an assumption tool based on past practices of allocations that we've received.
okay. So the whole reason I'm asking this is like if I look at this as, a family that is enrolling my kids in this, or just to consume, right? If I sign a contract, right, and that's essentially a contract, I have an expectation of a certain service. And if all of a sudden somebody comes back and said, hey, that free thing that we were gonna give you, or that thing that we were gonna charge you $20 for, now it's like $400 or whatever it is, I'd be pissed as hell. And so my sense is whether or not it's right or, we have to figure out a way to give some of the families a potential off-ramp. I think it's not fair to say, with 2 weeks of school, to say, hey, congratulations, that thing that you thought you were gonna get for free, now you gotta pay $400 or whatever it is. Right, so we need to have some transition, so whether it's a month or whether it's 2 months or whatever, but then we maybe set the expectation as Member Thomas is indicating, and maybe there's a tiered system that says, okay, after that, even if you're unduplicated, here's the amount that you have to pay, and we would allocate all the ELOP funds to subsidize that lower rate. But then if you're unduplicated, here's the different amount that you would have to pay. So I mean, that's just kind of my thought. But I don't think it's fair that we told somebody that they were gonna get something for free, and then 2 weeks before school, we hit them with a big bill.
Not necessarily that we tell people they're gonna get things for free. The UPP qualifying families still are gonna get it for free. Like, the majority of them take up the majority of our grant that we've been doing for them. And there would have been a reduction anyways for this year, not for the UPP students, but for, in the past, we actually had more seats than 400. So we actually pared back the number of seats that we had to make sure that it was kind of meeting the needs of our UPP families. So anticipated is 400, of which the majority of those 400 really should be going to our unduplicated families.
Right, well, but what I'm saying, I mean, and I'm not trying to, point fingers or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand the problem and what are potential solutions.
Yeah.
But my understanding of what we've said is that we were offering Think Together and for people, and we were not gonna charge them. And so if you signed up, you were signing up to participate in the program.
The ones that are non-UPP are on a wait list, because first come, first served goes first to our UPP students. So the ones that are on our wait list are hoping that there will still be openings available that they'll be able to go into. Am I correct in
They're
understanding?
not officially registered.
So you're saying the
yet.
250 people that, because it's a total of 500 plus
Yes, so the 277 that are non-UPP are on a wait list.
are on a wait list.
They have not been confirmed into the program yet.
Okay, so.
Can I just, member Aguilar has a question. Go ahead.
I just appreciate Ms. Allardyce just answering the questions that we have, because it's really important, especially for families that are going through hardships right
Definitely.
now. The UPP count, I mean, it's going to go up. Regardless, we do have McKinney-Vento families, we have unhoused families that we have to give and leave the door open for.
100%.
Right, so we have to take that in consideration and make sure that this particular group of individuals are being served at a first come, first served basis. Also, just a question, you mentioned that the families have not been registered, is that correct? So they have not been informed or called for this particular 2 weeks that we have?
The unduplicated students have started being told, but it's the non-unduplicated students who have not been confirmed yet.
Because my understanding is on that wait list, and they stay on that wait list, knowing that it's iffy if they're going to get it or not until we have. At what time, Opie, do you cut it off the, okay, all these families can register, you're UPP, you get in, you're not, you're waitlisted. And then when does that cutoff happen where then you say, okay, we've given the families until, well, let's just say August 1st to sign up, and then we start going to the wait list. What's that date?
It was gonna,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and give the date.
it was gonna be by the end of this week.
Okay, all right.
But then this happened.
Then this happens, so that's, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, so there's one more piece I want to kind of add to your question and to Opie's answer, because I think what's important to remember is that our prior year, we went in the hole to pay for ELOP, and we had more seats and more families that were non-UPP were able to go in there. It was a significant cost to our district. So we pared it back so that we tried to make sure that primarily our UPP families would be covered first. So again, we recognize the importance of making sure that our UPP families that are really having a hard time have to be served. By the way, we can't turn to anybody else, even if I wanted to cap it. If they come in, we have to serve our UPP students.
Okay. And I understand that.
Yeah.
We have to serve our UPP students, and as it stands right now, if you get no further folks coming in, it's about $40,000 that we'll have to eat. But we're not required to pay for our unduplicated, and in fact, it would be irresponsible. I mean, a non-unduplicated, to my mind, it would be irresponsible, because that would, in effect, is like a gift of public funds for people that otherwise would have to pay for their child care. There's not a grant paying for it. So I don't think we can even give a couple months of leeway to non-unduplicated families. I really am worried that we have a terrible public relations story here, where we have set expectations over the last several years and in our budget that we will be able to serve our non-unduplicated students. But the question I have is, how can we pare back our contract with Think Together so that we can cover the $595,000 of our cost, knowing that the rest, and in fact, another question I have too, that is about, if parents have to have their kids there for the whole period, right, the whole period, can we make a rule that says, you know, this is a program where you have to be here for the entire time?
You can't.
And we've
Then
done,
a parent has a right if they want to take their child out on a Friday afternoon because they're going somewhere, not keep them there till 6 o'clock, so we
Yeah,
can't.
we can't do that. So I know that when we, go ahead.
Let me just answer your first question about when do we renegotiate the contract with Think Together? That already started happening this afternoon. I've been talking to them already. I've been on the phone with them twice this evening, so.
so is there leeway in the contract to renegotiate, given that?
Yes, and so we're in
Don't have the funds.
negotiations right now.
Okay.
I do remember when we talked about this, I think it was sometime in the spring, and we talked about, that we did talk about looking at a fee-based program. We did not expect to need to use it right now, but we were looking in that direction to come up with how we would handle a fee-based sliding scale or however it would be. So I know this isn't new, it's just a shock.
Yes.
It'll be interesting, the 277 who are non-UPP, 3 of those schools, which is BGI, BGP, and Kennedy, OP had, I know, but of those 3 sites, OP has all the time parents just saying, can I please just pay? I need childcare, and we couldn't before because we had to make sure. So it'll be, we need to see how many might be a hardship and how many are saying, thank you.
Yeah.
Because then there wouldn't be a wait list, right?
Right.
For those families who
And
need.
if the fees we're charging are gonna be less than what they would otherwise have to pay on the economy, maybe they'll be happy to pay. But I think, my feeling is, we cannot subsidize non-Liberty families.
And through the board, really quick, in regards to the ACES funding, the grant, there should be requirements that specify exactly, yes, if the student is not able to be there from 1 hour to closing. We know that if they're there until 6 o'clock, it's because either they're facing hardship, transportation, they need the service. Now, the recommendations that are being referred could be coming by teachers, right? And that could be on the first come, first basis that we're serving our children that really need the program from an academic point of view. Because we want to make sure that we're serving our children based on their academics. If they're really low, that this will help them. Yes, we know that it's not a homework inclusive program, but it does help them to get additional help. Another suggestion could be, we could definitely start reaching out to our parks and rec, our libraries, and get that commodity, start building that up, which we spoke about, I believe, in February, to try to get programs that if our students are not able to attend the school on base, on site, that they could attend programs in the community.
So I want to share with you that the city is moving forward with a child care application with the county or the state. They are looking to move forward in that direction to be able to help and support community families. We also are having a conversation with them as well about how could we maybe do after-school programming together in 26, 27, and make it more cost-effective for our families to have access to it. So we've actually had several meetings now already. So there are discussions in play, knowing how important it is to serve our families and make sure that there's programming here inside Newark that will really help and support them, and looking at combined funds to be able to do that. This really was a huge hit. I did want to go back and tell you that the ACES funding was not in that formula. So ACES is different than the ELOP formula funding. So ACES is still funded to our knowledge. We've not received a letter saying if there is anything different about that program. This is impacting the ELOP program that is for our TK through 6th grade. At Forsyth.
So just a
There we
quick
go.
And that's only 4 sites. Out of 6.
So coming back to what Member Thomas was saying, so initially my impression was that these guys had signed a contract and they had an expectation that they were going to be getting service. But so, right, so an application, but what I'm hearing is that the expectation was set that if you are UPP, that you're on a wait list. So at this point, those people that are on a wait list don't have any expectation that they're necessarily going to be in the program.
Right.
And so therefore, that gives us some flexibility to then come back and say, I think as you're saying this, Howard, that, hey, so in the past, we kind of covered it, it's not going to be possible going forward. However, there's now an option, which is that you can pay. And so, am I understanding that correctly?
We are looking at that as being an option, and working with Think Together to kind of create what would a fee-based model look like, and so we are trying to pivot and be able to support those families. We know that we're going to go over on our number for the UPP students that should qualify and are within the grant requirements. We know we're going to exceed that, and that is going to encroach on our general fund. That's going to happen this year for the whole year, so we know that's going to happen. But we want to make sure that there is some sort of programming available that hopefully would be affordable to our families if they moved into a fee-based model. And right now, those are where the negotiations kind of are going with Think
Could
Together.
I ask a clarifying question? You just said that it is going to encroach on the general fund. I've always understood that childcare is a separate fund and that it's not allowed to encroach on the general
It
fund.
encroaches on the general fund for our students that are UPP qualified, and if they want to come into the program, we would have to take.
You're only talking about our UPPs.
Correct, right, okay, yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
Just a quick suggestion that we might have for the future. Knowing that we have 4 sites, Kennedy being one of them, BGI, BTP, is that correct? And what's the 4th one?
Lincoln?
Lincoln. If we consolidate at least the after-school program for BGI, BGP, and consider having the program at one site, it would alleviate the FTE or classified staff paying them that particular amount, or how would that?
I don't think it really changes it because when you have to figure out how to get the children from one school site over to the other school site. So you have a transportation type of an issue every single day. I don't see that being a cost savings. You still have a certain number of student ratio that happens per staff member that's there. So I don't think it necessarily changes that.
But we would have to see for the expanded learning that we have to also make sure that we're giving those resources or attempting to give some type of extended learning for our children. So it's just to consider transportation. I mean, we have a few buses just sitting there, and we could go ahead and definitely use one of them.
But it's still, there's still the ratio of adults to children. So whether they're at one school or 2 schools, the ratio is going to still be there. So they're still going to have, and I think that, at least from my experience, they're pretty good about filling to make sure that they do have a full, if it's a 20-to-1, then there are 20-to-1. And it's not like this school has 1 to 15 and this school has 1 to 20 and this one has 1 to 11. They're pretty consistent of that one, whatever the number is, that 1 to 20. At least I know my granddaughter's, she's always in a group of about 20 kids with one leader.
Is that considered a combo class?
Well, they're not classes. They're groups of kids. They try to group them by grade level as much as possible for supporting homework and things like that. But so it's not a cross section of kindergarten and 5th graders in the same group. They're by age.
4th through 5th, 2nd and 3rd.
Exactly,
Is
that kind
that
of thing.
covered by Think Together, by the grant?
That's what-
It's not district money.
No.
It's not district staff.
Well, it's Think Together staff. It's not district staff. So it wouldn't save us district staff.
But if we're staffing for double the number of students that we're expecting now, or we may be expecting now, can we
not
save
double
on
staffing.
some of our staff, your staff that oversees and helps? Or is that set?
For TK?
No, for the,
It's only TK.
It's only TK.
It's only TK that uses our staff.
Are
okay.
you asking about the adjustment of Think Together staff? If the ratio?
No, I was not thinking that we had some classified staff only for TK. I was thinking it was across the program.
No,
It's only for
just that
TK from 12 to
couple
3.
hours.
So it's funny, one of the things I've been learning from my other fellow colleagues out there There are programs that have moved TK into a full day program, and they are not a half day program. We're paying our teachers for a full
Yeah.
day. That, it's something to think about, depending on the number of families that need it. I think doing some survey work, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I can even jump in there, because I do work with the early learning team, so I do work with your TK teachers, and some of them have expressed that, you know, the children would benefit from a full day TK program. So it is something to think about.
We do, at Ravenswood, where I currently work, we do have that model. And TK, kinder, I mean, it's a long day for them, but they adapt, they adjust. And they have academics, have 1 hour, they have a good lunch break, good recess, and then they have either field trips or other, you know, outdoor ed that they do. So it does, that model would eliminate a lot of issues.
Definitely, something I know
Have a quiet time.
Well, yeah, it's on my radar screen, and I think, you know, there's time for self-reflection, there's time to be able to do art, there's time to be able to sit there and, especially, we've got grant monies that are available for us through Prop 28. We can augment many of the pieces of programming that we do there for kids. If it's in our school day and we've got teachers that are supervising it, there's things that we could definitely do, I think, to help and enhance those services for kids and give them an enriched environment, which I think meets many of our educational goals that we've talked about here. The board has, you know, indicated they want to be able to have for families and for kids. But I think it's something that we should go back and take a look at and have a conversation with our educators about for this coming year. I would love to see us move into that model. I do think it would be good for our kids, and I think it's good for families.
So is the lump sum, I mean, is the amount that we're getting for ELOP, is it a lump sum amount, or is it on a per pupil basis?
Yeah, it's both. So it's calculated on a pupil basis on the ADA that we have for unduplicated students, and it's then multiplied by whatever the allocation dollar amount is, whether you're on tier 1 or tier 2. So and it goes back a year. But it also has the rolling average that you have to calculate for that unduplicated count.
Not an easy formula.
It's not,
So the reason.
it's not, honestly, it's not a difficult formula, but I just want you, there's more factors to it, so you have to have, once you have those numbers.
But then once they do the calculation, that's the amount of money you get. And whether you have one kid that shows up in that program or however many, you still get the same funding.
That's correct.
Okay. And so if that's the case, I'm just wondering whether, you know, maybe the partial solution to this is that we, as Member Thomas is saying, that we make sure that we have our ELOP funding geared towards the target groups that it's geared towards. And since we're now not trying to cover everybody, maybe that will lessen the hit, right? But as you're saying, we don't know. There could be more people. There could be 500 more people that sign up. We don't know.
I might get more people later on in the school year that need access to it, and we've got to make sure that we provide access.
Right, so we don't know at this point, but at least we're going to say that, and this is where I think that we will need to make an adjustment when we make a motion, because the recommended action, it says, is it's recommended that the board approve an ELOP after-school fee-based program for families who do not qualify for the 25-26 year. So I think what we're saying is that, so that's the
Right, that is exactly what we're talking about. That's the group that we're talking about.
The ones that are
Right.
UPP are going to encroach on our general fund.
Yeah, no matter what.
Right, so, that are non-UPP. And so I think what we're then saying is that since that group is on a wait list right now, okay, we haven't made any commitments to them, then we're probably on firmer ground in saying, you can come into the program, but we're gonna have to charge you a fee.
Now, I don't know what that fee looks like yet, because like I said, we have to go negotiate what a non-UPP fee looks like. With this particular program, we can also have a conversation with the city to see how fast maybe they can come up with a program. They can maybe, and the city doesn't even know about what just happened. I mean, like, all this is coming up. It was, like I said, it was something that, in the past, even with our non-UPP students, we did not serve them. We had students that stayed on our wait list all year. They wanted to be able to come and they had no place to go. So they weren't served. They had to go, families had to go pay a higher fee to a private person or a private entity to be able to provide the services, right, like that they needed for their children. I do think attendance is important, and I do think we have some gaps where people think it's okay just kind of check kids in and out, but I think with some additional background information to our families about what the cost is of this program and how important it is that we utilize it to its fullest. I think it's something we should have conversations with our families, like obviously, we want to be able to help and support our families, we don't want to have large vacancies every day or large absences.
When we originally scheduled this meeting, it was supposed to be very short, and I have to pick my sister-in-law up at the airport. Is it at all possible that we can speed this up?
I don't know, there's much more to say here, but by all means, the motion could definitely change. It was just staff's recommendation that we look at a possible fee-based model, if that's even possible, to be able to help and support our families.
When would a notification go to our families to notify them? And, how would we,
Great question.
I would hope that we would get communication out on Friday to give families the weekend time to discuss and think things over so that on Monday, fee-based applications could start. We would move as fast as we could.
Yeah, because
sooner
being
rather than later?
roughly 2 weeks away from the start of school, I'm sure families are stressing on.
If they have childcare, not.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of hearing that everybody is on board with a fee-based program for the non-UPP families, the students of those families. Are we all in agreement for that? Do we need to take a vote? That's what we were recommending, or is this
It says
just?
action on
It's a
our
staff
agenda.
report. It is a
So-
staff report. I left it there as a possible action in case in our discussion you wanted to form a motion or give us some different direction. Like the initial thing that you were kind of thinking is, like maybe we go into their whole semester. I didn't know if there would be a motion that came out of this discussion, but I wanted to have the flexibility that if the board felt committed to something that, we go off and go do that. Just wanted to make sure that you have the ability. If you don't make a motion,
Then I move that staff bring the plan back to us for a fee-based after-school program.
Well, hold on, because if they're gonna send a memo out on Friday,
yeah.
but they have to have a plan in order to do that.
We're going to cut the best deal we possibly can for families and then see who wants to go into it.
Assuming it pays for itself.
For the non-UPP families, yeah, that it pays for itself.
Okay.
All right, so I believe it is a motion, and I'd like to take action on it so that you can move forward and have the concrete direction from us.
Actually,
Go ahead.
so before you even finish, I know Ms. Upperton wanted to remark on something.
Are you, everybody okay?
No, I do have an initial quote. I don't know if we
I don't
should.
think I want to discuss that.
Okay.
Until we know,
Okay.
we have a chance to discuss and still negotiate, and I don't know that I'm ready to throw that out.
Okay,
there.
so
Yeah, that's
I made the motion that staff initiate a fee-based program that is self-funded
Self-funded for the,
for the non-unduplicated students.
I second.
vote please.
Member Hill?
Yes.
Member Argiano?
Yes.
Member Block absent? Member Thomas?
Yes.
President Trump?
Yes.
4 ayes.
All right, so 4 ayes, moving forward to, on coming up with a fee-based program and notifying families.
Yeah, I'm sorry, could you tell me who made the motion, who made the second, could you just repeat that?
Sure. Motion was made by Thomas, second was made by Hill. 4 ayes.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to, if you want to go, you can.
No, I
Go.
want to be here.
Okay, public comment, and I have Ms. Sparks or Mr. Newt. You guys can duke it out as to who goes first.
Good evening. I really wished I'd known about the discussion was going to go down the avenue that it did. I did really quickly look up your budget, and for Fund 12, you have over $760,000 in there, just so that you keep that in the back of your mind. That wasn't brought up to you, so that you know that with childcare, what it had accumulated before it was discontinued, and you started really running with ELOP, there is over $760,000 in that account, just to keep that in the back of your mind for startup of your program or to offset intermediate stuff. On to what I came to speak about. For many years, the community has heard about deficit spending in the board's ongoing discussions around the need to right-size the district. There are tough conversations, and I know no one takes them lightly. Still, it's hard to feel not to feel concerned when you can continue to see rounds of layoffs followed shortly by a list of new hires, which seem to be more staff than the layoffs. Occasionally, and they also include positions that are eliminated in previous years without reinstating that position. From the outside looking in, this creates confusion and raises questions about whether the reductions are truly being made in a strategic, thoughtful way. Additionally, I understand there have been significant turnovers in the HR department, and that kind of disruption can certainly complicate the process. But despite that, it's important that the district doesn't lose sight of the responsibility to follow all necessary steps when making staff decisions. One area that needs more attention is how the salary schedules are being handled, particularly for positions that have recently changed in scope or clarification or classification. If a position is eliminated or moves from an 11-month to 12-month, or shifts from 7.5 hours a day to 8 hours, or any other variation, those changes need to be reflected in the salary schedule. Likewise, when a position is moved to a different range, the schedule should be updated in a timely and accurate way. Making sure these processes are followed is not only about compliance, it's about transparency, clarity, and maintaining trust. Especially in a time when staff decisions are so closely watched by both employees and the public, the district has to ensure that changes are done properly and that compensations reflect the actual work being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. New?
Good evening. I'd like to apologize for the sunglasses. We just had some doctors putting all kind of drops in my eyes, so I have to watch the light. What I want to bring up is I looked at the timing of the last meeting. And so we have a public meeting, which is kind of a general meeting. I don't think it was a special meeting. Where there is public discussion, I think it's 57 minutes. And then there's 3.5 hours of closed session, right? And so I looked at the items in that closed session, and there's a whole list of appointments which were pretty quickly done. You know, people were invited and in and out basically. There's an issue, 4 issues with potential litigation. Yeah, I would be a wonderful lawyer who takes 3.5 hours to just brainstorm about that. And my point is, I just have my doubts. 3.5 hours for that, what is discussed in the closed session? It would be really nice for the board to affirm that they value the Brown Act and the clear limits of what can be discussed in closed session. Because again, 3.5 hours in closed session, I mean, the public is watching, and you know, at one point it becomes like, is this logical? So again, I really think it's important that it's a meeting for the public, that issues need to be discussed in open session. And, you know, I can understand that certain issues are difficult, emotional, but, you know, we're all adults, and there's rules of order, and we can disagree. Board members can disagree on items respectfully. I mean, what is stronger than saying, I disagree 100% with the board member who's sitting next to me, who I respect very much? Anything more is all drama. So, you know, some issues have to be discussed in public, and, you know, they just, that's where they belong. And so again, I want to emphasize that
30 seconds.
we should take real good care of making sure what is discussed in closed session belongs in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to consent agenda for the personnel reports. Anyone have, want to pull that for discussion, or we're just going to approve? All right, looks like we are good. May I get a motion for the personnel report?
I make a motion to approve the personnel report.
Okay, and a second, please?
I second.
And a vote, please?
Member Hill?
Yes.
Member Alcantara?
Yes.
Member Block absent? Member Thomas?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes. Okay, thank you. That is our last item, and I will adjourn the meeting at 6:42. Thank you.